Hi everyone, welcome to the live stream. My name is Kenneth, and today I want to talk about the 5 questions you need to ask before applying to a private education institute. So the reason we have this topic today is because right at this moment, the A level results are being released online. Supposed to be done at 3 p.m. today. So as you get your results, just want to share the 5 questions. Once again, the 5 questions to ask yourself before applying to a private education institute. So there are many pathways for students these days, and inevitably some of you might start looking to private education institutes to check out the alternative pathways and the options available to you. But before you make a decision to enroll into a PEI, here are 5 questions you should ask yourself. So the first question would be, do you want or need to save face? So this is actually a really critical question, especially in our context. I know of people who have dropped out of PEI halfway through their studies to apply to a local institution because their friends commented that PEIs are not a proper school. In fact, I even had army sergeants who looked down on PEI graduates during the in-camp training. So I go back for reservice. They said that because they felt that if those of us who went to a PEI were worthy enough to be granted university level knowledge in the first place, we should have been able to qualify for a place in one of the autonomous universities to begin with. So there really is no way around this. Either you get thicker skin and endure the comparisons with cousins or relatives or friends at family gatherings, or qualify for a place in a local university. So next, this is a tricky topic. So are you willing to accept a lower starting salary? It's no secret. The graduate outcome surveys and all that's being published by the Council for CPE, Council for Private Education, is quite transparent. It's out there. PEIs tend to have a lower starting salary as compared to, say, an NUS graduate or someone from SMU. So if you are thinking of going to a private education institute, just be aware that you probably have to accept a lower starting salary. But in my opinion, the lower starting salary is acceptable. It's a trade-off. Students in the local institutions are forced to take on internships, compulsory career development programs, service learning programs, and a whole bunch of elective modules, which mean their duration of study is a bit longer, between 3 to 4 years. Yeah. In contrast, the majority of PEI graduates only spend about 2 years in school because they have more innovative scheduling of modules. Most of them use the trimester system, so 3 trimesters a year rather than 2 semesters. But this also results in shorter holiday periods, so the students can graduate faster. Their speed to market, basically. So the trimester system is a unique business model in the sense that it doesn't skimp on modules or academic teaching hours. What happens is it just compresses the time, so you might have more lessons squeezed into one day. So it's a two session, maybe 6 to 8 hours, rather than I know of some cases where people go to school maybe 3 times a week only or 4 times a week, depending on the modules they're taking that semester. So instead of using your study time to get work experience and all that, the trimester system, in a sense, you could call it front loading of knowledge. You get you go through all the academic stuff, then you go into the real world and gain real world experience. So the starting salaries of course tends to be lower because you may not have taken the internships. You You may not have taken all the extra electives, and generally you just focus on the academic part. So the thing is, what if you want a higher salary? The great thing about PEIs, I believe, is most allow you to defer your studies for a reasonable amount of time. If you score a temp job or internship on your own at a desirable company, I would say don't be afraid to defer your studies. So if you prefer doing things concurrently, similar to what the autonomous unis are doing, consider volunteering regularly for a couple months in a year, using this opportunity while you're volunteering to network and pick up skills along the way. Or in today's world, the gig economy, just take up gigs related to your course of study during weekends and holidays. So one of the reasons why I think it's not so much of an issue is because of the calculation I have here. So assuming you graduate from a PEI and your salary is only 2,500 a month, that's way lesser than what you would probably get as a graduate from an autonomous university. But that's a $30,000 a year salary. And since you only spend 2 years in uni, that's a $60,000 head start over someone someone from a 4-year degree program. So as compared to someone who went to, say, an autonomous uni and spent 4 years there, the PEI graduate has a $60,000 head start and 2 years of actual work experience that are not internships. Of course, being out in the actual workforce means you are subject to higher expectations. So unlike an intern who's there probably to learn, going out into a workforce as a full employee, gaining a full salary would really mean that you're actually expected to produce like a full employee. So that being said, the head start in the workforce allows you to gain experience. However, after this initial slump, employers start to care more about your work experience and the notable achievements you have in your work. So my personal advice would be to keep a record of your achievements and highlight them in your resume. So the next question you should ask yourself is, are campus amenities very important to you? Okay, so let's face it, private school campuses are nothing compared to, say, the campuses of NUS or NTU. Those campuses are so big, they have shuttle buses just so students can get around. You find most private schools located in shopping malls. For example, we have PSB Academy in Marina Square, or Kaplan, which is located at Wilkie Edge and Pomo. Of course, there are some private education institutes that are not in shopping malls. For example, we have MDIS in Sterling Road. They have their own campus and even a hostel within the campus. And then we have James Cook University at Sims Drive. But despite not being in a shopping mall, and some would even say a step up from a mall campus, these campuses still pale in comparison to NUS and NTU. I used to work at NUS and there were multiple swimming pools and canteens in those campuses, in the NUS campus. You won't find any of this in the PEI campuses. So at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself if you need a multi-million-dollar sports facilities with a swimming pool or multiple swimming pools, running track, more than one gym on campus, and the ability to stay in a hostel. If your answer is yes, the PEI is probably never going to satisfy you. So the next thing we have is campus life a major factor in your decision making? This kind of ties in with the point above. this kind of ties in with the point above. So more facilities usually means more resources to accommodate multiple student groups. Having facilities on campus also makes things cheaper and easier to run for the school or the university and the students. Let's use a swimming team as an example. If the campus has multiple swimming pools in the campus, the university has multiple swimming pools in the campus, it will make sense to have a swim team, a water polo team, possibly even a canoe polo team to maximize the usage of the pools. In the case of a hypothetical canoe polo team, the boats can even be kept on campus, and you can save on the storage costs. On the flip side, for PEIs, without all these facilities, having students travel to the nearest swimming pool for training is going to cost them money. First, they have to travel out of the campus, and then they also have to pay to get into the swimming pool. So every training will incur additional costs. And just like that, the thought of joining the swimming team or the canoe polo team becomes a lot less attractive for students. So the last question that you might want to ask yourself is, what is your desired industry? So the reason I bring this one up is it's fairly important to consider. Some industries have certain regulations that may not be, they might have the regulatory requirements that may not be aligned with the private education institutes. So PEIs may not have, for example, advanced standing or a link up towards being registered as, say, a professional engineer, or qualifying you to become a doctor. So I don't think there's any private education institute or private medical degree course where you can take locally and that meets actually the requirements for becoming a doctor in Singapore. It's the same for, say, something more simple and not more common like accounting. If you go to a autonomous university and you want to become the chartered accountant in Singapore, there's the ISCA, Institute Singapore Chartered Accountants, I believe. It gives you the advanced standing in the sense where you can go in, just take that test, and then meet the work requirements and become a chartered accountant in Singapore. Whereas PEIs will have, PEI graduates actually have to take up this foundation program before they can move on to the next step. So the autonomous university graduates have a bit of a head start there. Of course, the PEIs will tell you that they have linkage with, say, ACCA or CPA, or maybe even the one that's with the ICAEW, the Welsh one. Yeah. So different standards, but if you're planning to be in Singapore, there are probably some limitations you might face. Of course, it could be that some industries or some companies will discriminate against PEI graduates, but with the government's emphasis on the Skills Future initiative and lifelong learning, things might be looking up. Educated employers may recognize competencies rather than using certificates as a proxy for competence. So they might end up hiring more from their intern pool instead as well. So one way to work around all this would be, I guess, to get internships during your school holiday periods, or after graduating from a PEI, what you could do is spend the first 6 months to maybe 11 or 12 months just being on an internship after you have graduated. Nobody says that you can only do an internship while you are still in school. Okay, so that's my 5 points on that's basically my 5 questions about 5 questions that you should ask before you decide to apply into a private education institute. But the very important thing I want you to take note of is, despite regardless of whether you choose to go to a PEI, autonomous university or whatever, now is the period where you have all the open houses and stuff. So private schools, their marketers, the student recruitment teams will start telling you how great they are. They are best in this, number one in that. You start throwing their rankings around. But what's important for you is choose what's best for you. Best in Singapore, best in the world, best in Asia, top 2%, top 1% means nothing if it's not what's best for you. So I guess the takeaway for if you have not if the one lesson that I'm suggesting is, if there's no takeaway for you here, is just choose what's best for you, not what's best for the ranking, based on the ranking, based on your friends' recommendations. What's best for you? Okay, that's it. And so it's about 3:15 now. Probably if you didn't manage to get on because of everyone trying to log in to see their results at the same time, just wait a while, I guess. The results are not going to run away. And I wish everyone the best of luck. And hopefully you got good results and got what you wanted. Ciao.